think it can be quite misleading to, you can kind of think like to get to God is to go to church. But the church is actually not a building or like a time on Sunday. The church is the people. And I think what makes the church a benefit to the world is when they're in light. And this isn't, I am judging the church, but I am judging the measure of light that I've seen us operate in. And I'm saying, no, this isn't it. Like we need some help in this area. We need a measure of light to come in and judge the darkness that's in us. Because the church is supposed to be where the light is. And those that are in darkness believe that they're separate from God. And so they go to the church and they're thinking that if I put on these things, if I meet God where he is, I can stay in the light. And because the church is in darkness, this is reinforced. In fact, there's a whole identity called Christianity where we put everything into these practices of following him and looking like whatever, man of God, Christian aesthetic, woman of God, Christian aesthetic. It's just the church in darkness. It's the church that doesn't know. Because this is what I think it will really be. It will be, if I were to represent the church in this way, it would be more on these terms. The darkness, the people that are in darkness come in and they're met with a great light. The light in the people, where God met them in their darkness and led them out. So now it's not about going to church, and church is where the light is. It's about the light that has been produced from the individual that has walked the narrow road and now has the testimony, the hope in the hopelessness. And I think this is the dynamic. And I think in darkness we have to get to him and we have to put our old life away, right? And we spend so much effort, right? We extend so much effort trying to close that door. No, I'm a new creation. I don't do those things anymore. That's not me anymore. That's not me anymore. And we're still running away. We're trying to run away. Spiritual warfare comes in, starts to judge us from the place that we're actually in. We feel ashamed of where we are. And we're like, no, I'm not here. I'm not here. Because God says I'm a new creation. Da, da, da. And then you have a collective group of people all trying to agree and hold on to a truth that hasn't been produced in them yet. Right? Because they're thinking that they have to keep themselves in the light. Well, these are people that are in darkness. Because it doesn't seem to work that way. And it's the very best thing that it doesn't work that way. I think that every individual in one way or another, in this love story that God has written for us, for each person, thought of, is the 99 or is the one, right? Like in every kind of relationship, you are the lonely one. You are the outcast one. In whatever way that looks like. Meaning God has to come into the darkness that you are in and liberate you there and set you free from the place that you were in so that you're no longer trying to shut the door to the past. There is no door to shut because he has shut it. So there is no effort to extend by pushing away the spiritual warfare that's just coming and judging where you really are, right? It's judging your understanding of yourself. Right? And I believe that we will stop being influenced by spiritual warfare in the same way when we are elevated, when we are taken from glory to glory. And those that are speaking from a glory that they've been elevated to will say, spiritual warfare was the tool in God's hand to show me where I really was, and that God was with me where I really was. I didn't have to try to get to him. I could not get to him. This is where he needed to save me. And now the light of this testimony is going to be attractive to people that are in darkness because you're in darkness. But now there's light. That you don't have to, in your own strength, try to get to light. That's not how it's going to work. The light will be attracted to darkness. The darkness will try to scurry away from the light. Right? We're going to feel ashamed. We're going to be like, no, don't look at me. Don't look at me. You're not supposed to look at me. And it's like one who has been in great darkness for so long carries that heavy stain of shame. But the light being the church saying, oh no, don't worry about it. Because what he did for me is he came into the darkness that I was in. That I felt ashamed of where I was because I felt responsible for where I was. And I also felt responsible for getting myself to a new place. And I myself was trying to keep myself in the light whenever I met God. And spiritual warfare came in and judged my position, and I felt ashamed of my position. And I tried to put on the Christian costume that all of these other people were putting on. And then I found it to be too heavy and too much for me, as God had a different plan for me. He made it impossible for me to keep these clothes on, because the resistance of that with a God that's trying to strip you away from the grave clothes, and you trying to keep those clothes on because those are the only clothes you know, because those that feel ashamed and naked try to cover themselves. This is evidence of darkness. So in that place, he came and stripped me, and I thought he was going to judge me without the clothes on. He didn't. He showed me my position, and then he showed me, I am with you here, and I will lead you out of this place, whether it's depression or any mental health thing. These seems to be the people that are leaders in weakness, showing the world that they can be weak, because the world is already weak. The world is already in darkness. We are already in need of being rescued from our own delusion. It's those that have been met in darkness by light that know this, and know that he is the only way out of it. But it's not to get to church to try to stay in the light. No, that's an inferior identity thing. Right? We all try to put on the same thing and keep ourselves believing something that hasn't been produced. Can't help but result in self-effort, self-management, self-reliance, darkness management, right? What I call normalized darkness. Everyone agrees that this is what it is and this is what it is. Oh, the Bible says we're a new creation. So no. Put down the former things. You don't in your own strength have the power to do that, because you're in great darkness. And this is where your testimony will be. And that's where the light will shine. Because the light is attracted to darkness. And in darkness, you're not going to try to get to the light. You're going to, it's like he starts to illuminate the darkness. You see your need for the light. You see how you were made for the light. But that you can't get yourself out of darkness. This is the dynamic. Now God is going to be with you there. And you're going to be like, no, I have to get out of here. I have to get out of here. Why is it that when we get into the church, we experience so much heavy spiritual warfare? It is the preparation into being taken into a new state of being, going from glory to glory. It seems to be spiritual warfare just comes in and as the contrast. It really draws up where we really are in our belief about God at that time. Not to shame us, that's just more darkness, but to point at the need for grace, the need for him, the need for a great measure of light that sets us free from captivity. So it won't be like those that are in darkness get into the church and then are taught, because this seems to be what it looks like to me, taught how to stay in the light and how to try in your own strength to keep that door of darkness shut. No. That's not freedom. That is not someone who is free. But instead, it seems to be the dynamic is God comes into the darkness of where you are. And in darkness, you've been deceived. But then, the light comes on where you are. And that's where the testimony will be. He might be taking you like, oh, I'm not depressed anymore. And then you find spiritual warfare coming in, and it feels like you're backtracking, you're backsliding. The devil's taking you back into depression. No, dude, that's not it. The Lord is just leading you through the darkness, the thing that you've been afraid of the most, to show you that he is with you and has always been with you in this place. And eventually you will be set free. And then you will be a witness to where you were set free from. It's like, no, God had to take me back there. God took me through. And it's less of like God took me back there. It was more of God started to turn on the light in this place where I couldn't get myself out of. It's like you giving your life to God in the church is the beginning. Because when you do that, the light comes on. And the light's going to expose what you really believe and where you really are. And what you believe and what you really are is also going to be underneath the lens of how you see yourself in where you are. And most of us feel ashamed because we've been deceived to believe that we are lacking where we are. This is where the Christian costume comes. This is where the man of God, woman of God, Christian aesthetic comes. The mask that we can all put on together. But that's not a free person. That seems to be the immature believer that has not been yet shown that they're in darkness and need